I am going to tell about a very scary incident that took place with my father about 45 years back when he was unmarried. We had an old terrace which has been broken long time back, about 40 years back, where my father, along with his cousin brothers, used to sleep at night time. Now let me come to the main story. On that old terrace of our building, a person named Peter, who was also my father's friend, had jumped and committed suicide due to false allegations of fraud against him. People used to say that they used to see him standing, but my father was a non-believer in the supernatural at that time. He used to consider all such things fictional and imaginary until the day his belief changed. One day he was sleeping when suddenly he saw someone calling his name at night. He thought that it was his imagination and went back to sleep, when suddenly the same thing happened and he got badly scared. He saw a white pajama in front of him. When Peter had committed suicide, he had worn a white pajama and white shirt, and saw Peter standing in front of him, smiling at him, and suddenly he disappeared into thin air. My father got badly scared and never mentioned about this except for his mother, my late grandmother, who angrily scolded at him and told him never to sleep again at our old terrace ever again in life. After that, my father never went on the old terrace to sleep and started sleeping in our hall. After that, my father and my grandmother experienced quite few strange events on the same terrace, even during the daytime, but they chose to ignore them. Afterwards, when the old terrace was broken down in 1984, approximately 40 years back, nothing strange was experienced in our building and everything returned to normal. Today, the story which I am telling you is a very strange supernatural experience which happened to my uncle. Let me mention here, once again, not my maternal one. My uncle, now dead, used to go for his business trip to Ahmedabad, a city in Gujarat, a state in India. Whenever he used to come back home at night, he always used to see an unknown Maharashtrian old man dressed in dhoti and kurta, sitting on the staircase. First of all, my uncle used to think that he must be some relative of our tenants, sitting and chewing tobacco on the staircase. First he used to just ignore that man and things were going finely, when suddenly one day things turned worse for my uncle. One day, at late night when he came home, the old man asked him, "Hey Mohan, my deceased uncle's name, in Marathi, how are you? How is business going on?" My uncle felt strange about him being asked something from an unknown old man, but he chose to ignore him, as he was old. Later on, the same thing continued, and finally my uncle got angry on the man and asked him angrily, "Who are you and what you want?" To which that old man replied in a silent manner, "Don't ask me who am I and what I want. I am just telling you, don't come in my way ever again. Next time you come, you will be found dead here." My uncle looked at him in anger and was going to beat him, when suddenly he observed his feet, which were twisted back. Now he realized that he was talking with a ghost and felt ill badly after he went home, but chose not to mention to anyone. But since it was a question about his bread and butter, he kept the sacred ashes of God in his pocket, and afterwards never ever saw the unknown old man's ghost ever afterwards, and he continued to keep it until his death in 2007, even when he shifted to a new home, and nothing of that bad and evil sort ever took place with my kind and innocent, pure-hearted uncle. This story occurred in Gujarat and is of my father. We had bought a piece of land at Botad, a town in Gujarat, in the year 2015 to 16. It is a quite big plot, enough to build 2 bungalows, which we got at a fairly cheaper price. Since then we had been warned by the fellow neighbors of it being haunted by the spirit of a woman. The owner of the property, my grandfather, is a skeptic and doesn't believe in paranormal, thus he ignored the rumors and built a home on the purchased land. We performed all the required rituals on the property, from Bhumi Pujan to Vastu Pujan. Things went normal for a few years. The first encounter was the December of 2021. My parents had been to Gujarat to attend a function. Unfortunately, the house was unrented back then and only the duo were inside. It is a huge house with 2 halls, 1 kitchen, 3 bedrooms, and a big lawn at its back. One night at around 2 a.m., my father felt that someone was walking around his bed. At first he ignored, thinking it must be my mother. Only then he turned to his side to find my mother fast asleep. Sooner than he could figure out, he saw a woman covered in black clothes, her face covered by her black hair, standing beside his feet. She wept for a few seconds and disappeared in thin air. My father, being a skeptic as always, ignored it as a nightmare. The second encounter, it is the most recent one. In the January of 2024, my father and grandfather had been to Gujarat to attend a funeral of a close family friend. One night the father-son duo were sleeping in their respective rooms, when again at around 2 a.m. my father saw the same woman weeping while holding his feet and then disappearing into thin air. My father disclosed this encounter a month after reaching Mumbai. It is shocking for me to hear such encounters from my father, who has always been a skeptic and pragmatic person. However, apart from him, no one has ever experienced anything like that at the village home. Neither has my father ever had any such experience throughout his life in Mumbai. We had also rented out a guest room and lawn to a poor family of daily wage laborers who lived there between 2021 to 2022, but hadn't heard any such experience from them.